In 2020, I was broke. Like, should I get groceries or should I get coffee type of broke? And in the middle of my crisis, I took one decision. A decision that made me go from struggling to $20,000 worth of clients in a single month. And no, it wasn't working harder. It wasn't some sort of algorithm hack. It was something way simpler than that. But to understand how I did this, we have to rewind to my birthday. No, actually, my birth date. March 22nd, 2002. So I'm originally from Brazil. My family immigrated to America when I was just 3 years old. And like most immigrant families, the goal was always college. Because to us, college meant success, stability, and making it in America. And I wanted that. I wanted to walk across that stage and have something to show for all of my years of hard work and all of the sacrifices that my parents had made throughout the years. But deep down, I was a business girl at heart. I remember just being 5 years old and selling ripped up pieces of paper with literally a ballpoint pen and drawing some like random nonsense. I think I was doing like portraits of people or something on just like college ruled ripped line paper. And I would sell it for like 5 cents and the adults would just give me $5 because they thought it was adorable. And I ate that up. I love the idea of creating something out of nothing, of making money on my own terms, of forging my own path, figuring it out my own way. But that felt at odds with what I was supposed to do. I just simply didn't know what to focus on. On one hand, chasing my entrepreneurial dreams felt like I was just turning my back on everything that my family worked for. On the other hand, settling for a 9-to-5 somehow felt like giving up on a part of me that had always been there. So I kept telling myself I could do both. I can get the degree, I can make my parents proud, and somehow still find a way to build my own path. Now, I was always a good student. The plan was get into college, follow the path, and somehow it would just work out. But then 2020, COVID hit. Believe it or not, I graduated high school senior year through a car window. I had no prom, no graduation party, and not even a real birthday celebration because literally 2 days before my 18th birthday, COVID hit. Lockdown happened. I remember it being quite literally the saddest birthday of my entire life. I wasn't allowed to go out and just get a simple cake. And then I started college online. I was totally disconnected. And not only that, my parents couldn't work. I couldn't work. What was I supposed to do? I was literally sitting there watching my family struggle and something in me just snapped. I had to figure something out or else what was going to become of us? I had this gut-wrenching feeling of being powerless. Like for the first time in my life, no matter how hard we worked, no matter how hard my parents worked, it wasn't enough. And worst of all, there was nothing we could do about it. I'd watched my parents who had always worked hard, done everything right, be completely stuck, unable to work, unable to change anything. And for the first time, I saw what life looked like when you do not have control. And that made me start questioning everything. Girl, I'll be honest with you, I was out here grinding for classes that, quite frankly, I did not care about whatsoever. It was like, what? Calculus 1? Just a random, like, microbiology class? Like, I went to school for business. Why do I need this? I was trying to follow the plan, but in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake this one thought. Even if I do everything right, get the degree, get the job, who's to say I won't end up feeling just as trapped? And that thought terrified me. I was petrified. The idea of me handing over 8 hours of my everyday life to a job that didn't care about me, the idea of having to ask somebody to take a vacation or even a single day off, it made me petrified because my time is my life and I refuse to give that control over to anybody else. And that's what made me go all in trying to make money online. I didn't care what it took. I was going to figure it out. So I started researching every single way that I could make money from my laptop. And when I mean every single way, I mean everything. I spent hours designing like aesthetic little templates. I was convinced that people would buy them. I did have a couple sales there, maybe like $500. Website design, I spent hours creating them for other people. I even made one for myself. but I had no actual clients I could sell to. I screamed when I made $150 off of one website, but literally that was the only one I even went so far as to Pinterest board creation. Yeah, that's a thing. I literally pitched people on organizing their Pinterest boards for them. The internet laughed at me. $0 here. And it was frustrating as hell because I wasn't lazy. I was actually putting in the work. It felt like I was running full speed on a treadmill, going nowhere. So that's when I landed on social media marketing. Seemed like the perfect fit. I loved content creation. I loved growing pages online. And businesses actually needed this skill. So I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. Posted daily, check. Engaged in the DMs, check. Offered free work just to get my foot through the door, check. But no matter what I did, nothing was clicking. I was literally doing everything that the other people were doing to make $10,000 a month while I was here stuck making $200. And at this point, I had about $250 left in my bank account. That's it. And I couldn't shake this one thought. If I don't figure this out soon, I'm going to have to give up and get a real job. So that's when I stumbled across this one online course that promised to teach me everything about social media marketing. How to get clients, how to scale, the whole shebang. The price? $5,000. I looked at my bank account. $250? Yeah, not happening, buddy. But my parents, who knew I was doing everything in my power to make something happen, believed in me and graciously let me borrow their Citibank card. And just like that, for the first time in my life, I was $5,000 in debt. Wow. But here's the thing. Was I scared? Surprisingly, the answer is no. I wasn't hesitating. I wasn't wondering if it was a mistake. Because in my mind, I had no choice but to make this work. Failure was not an option. I had already seen what it was like to have no control over your income, over your time, over your future. And I refused to let that be me. So I swiped the card, metaphorically, because it was online. It was a digital course, okay? Signed up for the course and sat there thinking, this has to be the thing that changes my life. Except it wasn't. Did I make the money back? Maybe after a year of desperately grinding every single day. But that course did light a fire in me to keep looking for the next best thing, which led me to my next mental breakdown. I was over here online, seeing other people launching their business, launching courses, making $100,000 months, flexing their results like it was easy. Meanwhile, I was there making barely $200 from my work, wondering, what am I missing? Then one day, I got the comment. The one that made me rethink my entire strategy. Why could I pay you when I could just Google this for free? That comment shook me. Like, the audacity? Hello? But honestly, it did force me to admit to myself that I was playing small. At this point, I was calling myself a social media manager, but in all honesty, I was just a glorified content creator. Here's what my business model looked like back then. I'd offered to manage social media accounts for small businesses, thinking that they would jump for the opportunity to have somebody manage it for them. My services, literally just posting content for them. I was charging $300 to $500 per month per client, and I still felt like I was charging way too much. I was spending hours making Canva posts, writing out captions, scheduling posts, and hoping that it would somehow turn into serious income. But here's the problem. Businesses don't pay for pretty posts. They pay for results. I was too busy focusing on managing accounts that I never stopped to ask myself, is this actually generating results for them? So while I was out here charging $300 for a month's worth of work, I saw other people selling one service for $3,000 and getting paid up front. That's when I realized I was selling the wrong thing. I wasn't positioning myself as someone who could help them grow their business. I was positioning myself as a helper. And nobody pays high ticket for a helper. Here's the thing. I didn't wake up one day and was like, okay, screw it, let me charge more. No, I had a plan, okay? Instead of selling social media management, I started selling a client attraction system for business owners. Instead of just posting content, I offered a system that helped attract and close leads. Instead of offering monthly retainers, I started selling 90-day packages for $3 to $5K. Instead of doing work that didn't directly impact their revenue, I focused on strategies that directly increased their bottom line. That was the real shift. It wasn't just about charging more. It was about finally offering something that was worth more. Okay, so now I had the strategy, the offer, the skills, but I still had one problem. I had never actually closed a high ticket sale before. Up until this point, my sales calls were basically hoping my clients just liked me enough to say yes, which surprisingly, I did close a bit just off of that. If they hesitated, I would just start throwing out discounts like nobody's business before they even had the opportunity to give me any sort of objection. I was a mess, but there was this one sales call. I told myself, no discounts, no desperation, just trust the process. I got on the call and I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous as hell. My hands were definitely sweaty, my voice was probably shaking, but I kept reminding myself, I know my offer is valuable. I know I can deliver. Instead of saying, I'll manage your social media, I walked them through exactly how I could help them attract and close clients. And then the moment came, the pricing. $3,000. Absolute silence. My heart was racing. I wanted to blurt out a discount so bad, but I didn't. I just let the silence sit. And then they said, okay, let's do it. What? That moment changed everything. Not just because I made my first bit of real money, but because I realized I can actually do this. The confidence did not come before the call. It was after. Once I saw that I could close at high ticket, it became easier every single rep after that. Okay, real talk. I know that some of you are thinking, but what if nobody pays me that much? Sis, they will, but only if you stop playing small. The reason that nobody's paying you that much right now is because you don't believe they will. And if you don't believe in your value, why should they? The moment I questioned whether people would actually pay me this much or not, and just owned it, clients started showing up. But you have to decide that first. I'm scared to charge that much. I get it. I was too. Until I realized that undercharging was actually harming my business. The clients who pay the least really expect the most. And the ones who pay premium, they respect your expertise, they trust the process, and get the best results. The fear isn't in charging more. The fear is staying stuck because you didn't. What if I'm not ready? Then get ready. Because confidence does not come from waiting, it comes from doing. I didn't feel ready when I charged my first $3,000. I was terrified, but I did it. And then I did it again. And guess what? I delivered. Do whatever it is that you need to do in order to get ready. Whether that be invest in yourself, invest in your business, spend hours a day researching what it is that you need to do in order to deliver results. You don't wake up one day ready. You build your readiness by taking the leap. The only difference between where you are right now and where you want to be, it's the decision to start acting like the version of you that is already there. If you're still figuring all of this out, trust me, I get it. I was right there, trying everything, feeling stuck, and wondering if I'd ever crack the code. And that's why I'm making these videos. So you don't have to waste months or years struggling like I did. If this resonated with you and you want to learn exactly how you can make the shift for yourself, stay tuned. So hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.